Hi everyone, I'm Sydney Shapiro. I put together a few slides for my poster presentation, and hopefully you find it interesting. I've been talking a lot about AI recently, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty, especially among students, around where is this technology going. I think it's fundamentally shifted what happens in the academy, and I've been to 5 conferences this summer, and at all of them, AI was the only thing people were talking about. I think there's both the uncertainty as well as, how students are using it that's fundamentally transforming how we do our jobs. I think that, for a lot of this, it's really magical and there's some amazing things that happen. But on the downside, a lot of the changes that are happening, especially around like content creation, isn't actually creating net new content, maybe new to you, but it's actually more content recycling. And that's really the problem when people look at this, empty field and you don't have to have any technical knowledge or really know anything. All you have to do is just type in a sentence and amazing things happen. It generates images, it generates text. But the real question is, where does that come from and who's inventing it? I think the most important skill that we have is critical thinking. And if students don't learn how to do that, but yet they're just generating everything they do, ultimately it means that they're not going to get a lot of benefit out of the things that they're learning. I think that AI has a lot of positives. Like, for example, we could do personalized education or adaptive learning where we understand how a student's doing and design curriculum that matches their particular interests and what they're looking at doing and what they need more help with. That's totally possible. I think the problem is that that's not really the way AI is being used. Most of the time, we use standardized curriculum because it's scalable, because it's economical. And that's one of the problems, that if we're just looking at doing auto-graded quizzing, then that's very easy to overcome by AI. But if you're in a class where you're asking students to do a presentation, they actually have to get up and do the presentation, even if they generate the script by AI, which might not be very good. This semester was the first time that my policy in class was you could use AI as much as you want. And for the first assignment that semester, I still had a 70 average. How's that possible? Because if everybody's using ChatGPT and they're not answering the underlying problems. In other words, the problems aren't simple things that have a yes or no answer, but have to show critical thinking. And if you introduce those elements into a course, it makes it a lot more difficult to just use AI with everything. And even if you do, you still have to use your brain to understand the answers. This is the first time that I've ever gone from students emailing me and say, I don't understand how to do the homework, can you help me? Saying, I asked ChatGPT how to do the homework, I don't understand what it's saying, can you help me? So I think that the understanding part or learning part hasn't necessarily changed, it's maybe just shifted, right? We also don't really understand like biases and fairness happening inside of AI algorithms. And if there's privacy, students are dumping tons of private information into ChatGPT. Where does that go? We don't know. And really, I think the bottom point is the most important, that we really have to think about how to engage students and make them think and experience class in a way that really helps them learn that wouldn't otherwise be possible. I think there's a lot of ethical issues around where does the data go, who's using it. If I write a letter to a student and put it into this big system, is going to come out 2 months later for somebody else when the AI model rebuilds. So I think that's really important. And I think that, it's important to be honest about it. This technology exists and people are using it. To go through the course pretending that it doesn't exist and you can't use it, for some people that might be okay, but at the same time, in more advanced courses, I'm teaching how to build AI. So I think to prepare students for the real world, to look at the challenges AI presents and understanding what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to using it in this particular class. Once that's really clear to students, then they could use it in an informed way to help them as a tool and leverage what they're able to do, scaffolding. So if you have a question, you could easily ask ChatGPT and it would tell you the answer. But you can't use it as the only source of information, otherwise it might not be very effective. I think that as AI evolves and there's new developments that happen pretty much every day, I think that there's going to be a lot of change. Now, there's been many hype bubbles in the past where students learned tons of new technology, like, for example, with many, many other technologies. And the problem is that those technical elements got lost very quickly. In other words, they weren't kept around for a very long time. Once the underlying utility disappeared, then all that specialized coding disappeared. And the difference between that and generative AI is that you could just type something in and amazing things happen very simply. And I think that's going to be a critical change. And that's something that really we have to be prepared for, of how we integrate that. So thank you very much. I hope this is an excellent poster presentation. It's probably my first under 5-minute presentation ever. Thank you. Have a great conference.